Hello, it's Mr. Van Dong here with week 2, day 3 math instruction for our distance learning. Today, we are in chapter 11 doing lesson 5, convert customary weight. So that's on page 825, if you would turn there, please. And there's hardly any new information today. It's basically what we did yesterday with more practice. You don't have to make as many predictions. They've got some wonderful visuals there for you to try to know, exactly about what an ounce or what a pound or what a ton is. And by wonderful, I mean they're terrible. Because bread can weigh vastly different amounts of weights depending on how it's made and if it has seeds on it and stuff like that. So 1 ounce bread, that means like that thin white bread that's like mostly air. That's probably an ounce, but like any sort of thicker bread is going to be significantly more in its weight. A tomato is a pound. I mean, some tomatoes are close to a pound. Like if you get a nice big heirloom tomato out of your garden or like at the store or something like that, that probably weighs a pound. But if you get those like little tiny tomatoes on a vine or something, those don't weigh a pound. So anyway, a pound can look a lot of different ways. An ounce can look a lot of different ways. And everybody knows how big a buffalo is, right? Remember that time we brought the buffalo into class so that you guys would be like, oh, that's how big a buffalo is. Now I'll know how much 2,000 pounds weighs. Probably none of us have seen a buffalo. I'm not sure I've even seen a buffalo. Buffaloes are huge. Like they're way bigger than you would think. So to say that a buffalo weighs a ton isn't very helpful either, other than it's a giant animal and it weighs about a ton. Also, I'm pretty sure buffaloes come in a lot of different sizes. And they're so big that depending on the size of the buffalo, they might weigh much more than a ton or quite a bit less than a ton. I Googled, what else weighs a ton? And it was like black bears and polar bears weigh a ton. And I'm like, great. Okay. Now all my kids who've seen black bears and polar bears out there at the zoo or in the wild are totally going to know how much a ton weighs. Remember that time you tried to lift the black bear? That's a ton. Again, not a very good measurement. A ton is a little Geo Metro, the little chicken mobile that Mrs. Mendoza drives around. That's a ton. It's actually like 1,985 pounds, but it's really close. Once you get in it, it's a little bit more than a ton. So the little tiny Geo Metros, tiny small cars, mini cars, those are those weigh a ton. Now, side note, if a small car weighs a ton, think about how big full-grown bears are. That's really big. Bears are bigger than you think they are. Buffalo are bigger than you think they are. It's hard to know that unless you've, gone to the zoo frequently or, been unfortunate enough to meet a bear in the wild. So in any case, when we're trying to make sense of what these weights are, a ton, think of a very small car, okay? Like a mini or a Geo Metro, something like that. Also, fun story, in some countries, a ton is more than 2,000 pounds. Let's do some math. So here we are in page 825 doing example 1. A newborn lion cub, let's call him Simba, I won't say why, is about 5 pounds. How many ounces does the cub weigh? So what we've got here is a 5-pound Simba, and we are trying to figure out how many ounces that is. Now, if every pound is an ounce, that's 5 groups. If every pound is 16 ounces, that's 5 groups of 16 ounces. So our work here is to do 5 times 16. There are 5 groups of 16 ounces in 5 pounds. I can stack it, or I can use the mental math strategy for 5s is to multiply this by 10 and then to cut it in half. So 16 times 10 is 160. Half of 160 is 80. So it's 80 ounces. If you wanted to stack it, that's fine with me. I don't care. 80 ounces. 80 ounces of cute Simba. Turn the page. Next, example 2. Convert 56 ounces to pounds. So now we're going the other way. We've got 56 ounces. Maybe that's like Nala. If Nala's smaller or something as a lion cub, I don't know. 56 ounces to how many pounds? And every 16 ounces is a pound. So we need to do 56 divided by 16. But really, I'm just going to do repeated subtraction. So I'm going to take away 16 ounces. Every time I take away 16, that's 1 pound. So I take away the first, there's 40 ounces left. I can take away another pound. I get rid of another pound. Be careful when you're regrouping here. There's 24 left. I can take away another pound. Again, being careful when regrouping. There's 8 ounces left over. Okay, I can't take away 16 from 8. So how many whole pounds did I get rid of? I took away 3 groups of 16. So I got 3 pounds out of it. And then there's 8 ounces left over. Again, this is technically maybe correct, maybe wrong. I don't know. If they say, look, you have to give it in pounds only, no leftover ounces, then we have to think about, well, I've got 8 ounces left over. I've got 3 pounds and I've got 8 ounces left over. Out of how many ounces did it take to make a whole? It took 16 ounces to make a whole pound. So I could say it's 3 8/16 pounds, or I can recognize that that's 3.5 pounds, which I could also write as 3.5 pounds if I wanted to. Okay, so there's many correct answers to that problem. If at any point you're left with some sort of a fraction and they're not playing nicely together, you've probably made a mistake. They probably are only going to give you things that become half pounds or half tons or quarter tons, things like that. They're probably not going to be jerks and be like 7/16 of a pound. That's not very likely. So watch out for that. All right, there's 3 guided practice problems. I want you to pause me and I want you to do those guided practice problems and then come back to check your work. Go ahead and pause me now. Hey, thanks for unpausing me. Here we are. I'm going to check your work. Guided practice problem number 1 says 3 pounds is equal to blank ounces. So 3 pounds, blank ounces. This is 3 groups of 16. So I need to do 3 times 16, which I can just stack if I want to. I can stack it up real nice. Should have gotten 48 ounces. Number 2, 2.5 pounds. 2.5 pounds is how many ounces? I'm going to do 2 problems here. I'm going to do how many ounces are in 2 pounds and how many ounces are in half a pound. So 2 pounds, that's 2 whole groups of 16. 2 times 16 being, there's 32 of my ounces. And then half of a pound would be half of a group of 16. I can make a bar diagram or whatever, but half of a pound would be 8 ounces because it takes 16 to make a whole. So I put those together and what do I get? Bibbidi bobbidi, 40 ounces is the correct answer to the second problem. And number 3, 32 ounces is how many pounds? I'm going to use my resources. I'm pretty sure that I already talked about that. So if I did that in a previous problem, I'm going to be like, hey, wait a minute. 2 pounds is 32 ounces. So 32 ounces is 2 pounds, right? Because it's 2 groups of 16. I could double check my work and think, take away 16, there's 16, take away 16 again, there's 0. I took away 2 groups of 16. So that's 2 pounds is the right answer to number 3. You're going to now work on the independent practice and the problem-solving pages. So all of these problems, again, it didn't have us practice any with tons, but it's the same overall situation. Converting tons to pounds, every 1 ton is worth 2,000 pounds. Pounds to tons, every 2,000 pounds is 1 ton. So draw pictures, do maths. You can check your work with Google. For this problem, I'd say 32 ounces is how many pounds? Google will just tell you. Just to check your work. Google doesn't need the practice, you do. So doing this page here and then turning the page to work on the cute little puppy page right here. When you're finished, if you finish early, then you can move on. If you don't finish it in 45 minutes minus the length of this video, it's okay. Make sure you get plenty of practice in. I will see you tomorrow, and ask your homeroom teacher questions if you have them.